Welcome back, Rage Nation. Got myself Pete here.
That's not really exciting.
You got Senior Dixon.
I don't think that's appropriate.
And you got Monsieur Leopard.
Explorers deserved it. No.
Absolutely.
I was disgusted. I cannot believe they've done this.
Why is wacky? Why is that good? It's just nonsense.
I disagree on that. That's not possible.
We're getting the band back together. We're on a mission. Yeah.
Now we've got a whole new list of things to complain about.
Welcome back, Rage Nation. We are at it again. Got myself Pete here. And of course, we have with us Moan Senior Dixon. And we actually have a special personality. Somebody actually who I probably wished we had on a lot when we did our Guild Ball content. We have Rich from the land down under, Australia.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, handy listeners such as you are.
Of course, you don't have. I love that intro. He always used to do that on his podcast. Lovely listeners, as such as you are.
That's the one. Yeah, no, I know. I live down here in. That's it. I live down here in Holdfast Bay, which sounds like a ridiculous thing from a pirate novel, but it's genuinely the name of the place where I am. But no, I'm not from here, as you can probably tell by the British accent.
Yeah, so where'd you move from England? Like, which part of England were you from?
I was in North London. I'm originally sort of grew up in Wales, which is the small country just to the side of England, which is why I was calling myself British and not English. But yeah, when COVID hit, we fled Plague Island. Like, literally. Which I wouldn't recommend fleeing a country, but there you go.
Dude, it was like freaking, if I remember correctly, it was like 4 countries were like that. It was Italy, England, freaking the United States, and there was one more that was like everybody and their mothers was just like, run away.
Flee, fat ass, flee.
Yeah, and I recently fled to the inner part of the United States, so now I'm in the middle of the country, which I love because it's a lot more
makes sense.
Hardy people. I love it.
Consolidate,
no,
makes sense.
There's less people in the center of the United States than there are people on the edges.
I know.
And we're talking like you could probably put everybody that's in the United States for like the whole set of states, and it would still not be more people than there is in New York. That's how ridiculous the continent. Yeah, it's stupid.
Yeah, I saw something where it's like from pretty much the Mississippi over, it's like 75% of the population of the United States lives on that side. So I was just like, yep, I'm glad I'm on this side of the Mississippi. But we're not going to talk about geography and all this stuff. we might throw some Guild Ball references in there because, definitely missed the Snowflake reports. Got to bring those back.
I wish someone else would do that. It was too much work.
Yeah, so those that don't know, Rich used to do, I don't know, did you do it every week or just after every major tournament?
I did it like every Monday morning. I would do the Snowflake report and the GDI index, which still exists on Longshanks. I think that's one of my favorite things.
Yeah, the Snowflake report was literally looking at win rates and play rates of different captains for Guild Ball. And that way, if you wanted to be a snowflake, you could pick one of the least brought captains, so you could feel like a special snowflake playing your not played master.
That's
it. Which I definitely did a few times.
The GDI index was named after a guy called Ghost Deer on the Discord, which was he would work out the ratio of least played to most winning. So.
Oh wow, that's insane. The thing that I was gonna say is like Mercy could have used some snowball report from Pete, I guess. I don't know if you remember that captain, but she was like horrendously bad.
Harley is also appreciative of the Rage.
Oh, of course.
Rage and Ox always had a special spot on the Rage Quit Wire, in our hearts because they're just so on brand.
Just men of violence.
Brewers player, sir?
The what?
Weren't you a Brewers player?
Oh, I love Brewers. Yeah, I'm talking about Chris was. No. I did play, so I actually played a lot of Rage and Blackheart, so I did play those two as well. I love Blackheart, he was my man. But once again, we're not talking about Guild Ball and Snowflake Report here on the Rage Quit Wire. We're actually talking about I guess I'm delaying because I don't want to talk about Pandora. It's just
yeah. Now I'm letting you like become happy so I can crush your dreams. I
There you
mean,
go.
what? Who said that?
So we are going to talk about woe. It's a keyword. It's kind of like I was talking to actually Trevor from the last episode we did. I guess it would be 2 episodes from this, but I was talking to him about, because he played Terra the other day and he had a miserable time of it, just because Terra just presents some very difficult problems. And I told him, it's like, those keywords suck, but you got to learn how to play against them so you have a plan, because you can't just go into them normally. And that's exactly what woe is. You got to play against it. You got to figure out, okay, what's it trying to do? How can I counter that? Or how can I avoid it? And that's kind of how you get into it. So we're going to talk about what the keyword does today and how it gets its painful victories and, sucks the woe and despair from crews. And I'm actually curious, Rich. I mean, I see you bouncing around a lot of different keywords. So why are you so interested in woe?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to say right up front of these episodes, like normally I've been invited to a few podcasts and a few times, and that's always lovely to do because, you can sort of share your knowledge and stuff like that. I think it's really important to state, I have never played Pandora once. Like I was very, very surprised when, Pete and Dixon reached out and said, hey, you should come on and do this, which I'm very happy to do and looking forward to the conversation. But I am starting to play WoW. I will be, quick plug, playing WoW on my stream, which I do every week, the Friday night flip-flop info, against my good friend Mr. Tarquin Sweet Biscuits. No, that is not his real name. And I am here to sit under the learning tree of Dixon. Like, I have played against Pandora a bunch. In fact, my first 40 games of Malifaux were against Pandora back in M2E when I was playing against a buddy of mine who had just broken his leg and I'd just been laid off work, and we just sat and played Malifaux on Vassal for like a month and a half straight because we had nothing else to do while I looked for work and he tried to fix his knee. And I absolutely hate playing against it, and I have a reputation as being a horrific NPE control player. But yet I've never played WoW. So Dixon, I am here to like eat your brains and gain your knowledge.
So the main reason, because I know that this seems weird, but honestly, I wanted a new player perspective. Not that you're a new player, but you know what I mean. Somebody that's never been on the driver's seat to ask me questions, because I have talked about WoW a lot in the podcast.
And I think that would actually explain, Rich, why you have so many memes bashing Pandora. You, in the Rage Quit Wire Discord, you have memes of like, well, at least you don't play Pandora, or
yes,
things like that.
I'm entering my villain phase. Yeah,
and she's solidly mid tier. Like, it's not even like she's going anywhere in the tier list. It's just she is miserable to play against. Haha, pun intended.
Yeah, you can't some keywords you can kind of just roll into and just kind of figure your way out, as you play the game. But, if you do that against Pandora, you're probably going to lose that game just because of all there's going to be times as we get into this podcast where we're just going to be like, and that's when you just can't do anything. That's when you just don't play the game because you're just like, well, I activate this model and walk. Done.
Yep.
I mean,
I do have a funny story that I want to say in a second. Sorry, continue.
No, it's all right. Like, particularly when we come to Candy, there is one word on her card that the first time I saw it, I nearly just walked away. I was like, no, done.
So, the story that is real fast before we get into her, just to kind of say why I love Pandora. She puts you in like tough situations. I had a game against one of the guys from Schemes and Stones, where he, if I remember correctly, his rider was slow already.
Okay.
And he was gonna charge Pandora. And I was like waiting for it. Like I had set it up already that if he did that, his activation was gonna end. And my opponent was like, wait, if I go in there, I just lose. So he literally, he just like, it clicked in his head because at this point in the game, I had like done it like 4 times where like if you attack Pandora, you get stunned. So if he had charged his rider, he would have gotten stunned. And because of that, he would have ended his activation because he's already slow. And that's the type of stuff that she does.
Yeah, and getting into it, the thing that kind of the keyword is known for are a few different things. One, there's a decent amount of terrifying, so you have to deal with that. The second thing is that there's stun everywhere in this crew. So if your master hates stun, you're definitely sad when Pandora gets declared. And then not only that, when these conditions happen, so when you gain stun, or there's an ability called Opportunist, which some models also have other conditions like Focus or Fire or something else. But when you gain that condition, you basically have two options as a Pandora player. When somebody is stunned or gains that condition within 6 inches of a model, they can either move it 2 inches, which is very frustrating, especially if you charge or something else like that, or they can just ping you for damage. So they just ping you 1 damage.
Or if you play Pandora 2, both. Pandora 2, literally, that's what the title does. It's like, oh, if you get Misery, you also get moved.
Yeah. And then Opportunist is another ability you see on most of the models. That's basically where they can end a condition that is in that ability. So a lot of it is Opportunist Focus or Opportunist Stun. And then you can remove that condition to get a positive to the duel. And you're like, oh, yay, you're removing the condition from me. But then usually they just add it back on, so it just sucks again. So that's generally what this crew is doing as far as just, with Misery and Opportunity, is just using conditions to cause you pain, move you places you don't want to be, and just it's just a miserable experience, like the ability says.
People, I just want to point out, I haven't said that much about Pandora, and Pete just like, we need to get through this now because I'm miserable.
Dude, this is like Vietnam. I'm like, Charlie's coming over the wire.
This is how much I've had to like.
I already had about 10 games flash in my head of Pandora.
Yeah, because like we played more than that, and that's the issue. Because when we were doing new keywords, I was actually banned from playing Pandora. I think it was
you were.
2 games.
I was like, Dixon.
Why was that?
Because when you try to learn a keyword, you try to learn how to play, unpack, and all this stuff. And Pandora doesn't let you do that. She's like, you don't get your triggers. I'm going to put you where you don't want to. You can't move. You can't do this. And it's like, Dixon, I can't learn this keyword if you keep playing Pandora.
Right. So and that's what I wanted to start with. She plays different, and she forces people to play differently.
Yeah.
So if you're planning on playing WoW, the first thing you have to accept is, depending on which version of her you want to play, you're going to have to change some habits.
Yeah.
So how many games have you had so far at all with Pandora?
Me? Absolutely none. Absolutely none. My first game will be tomorrow live on stream.
Well, one of the things that I'm very famous for is chucking my master at you. And Pete can actually attest to this. This is actually a tried and it's a tried and true thing that I do. I literally just like catapult my master across the table to be within 6 inches of your entire crew.
Yeah, so let's kind of get into the first version, then we'll talk about the title. So, and usually feeding your master into your opponent's crew is usually a terrible idea because it's like, oh, your entire crew can now just pound on this master. But there's a few things that makes it bad for Pandora being in the middle of your crew. So, one, she's terrifying 13. That's a pretty high, TN. So
it's the highest in the game.
Yeah, it's like if you don't have Ruthless or a high will, even if you have a high willpower, I mean, even willpower 7, you still need a 6, so that's not nothing. Also, she has a defensive and willpower resist trigger that gives you stunned if you attack her. So, congrats, you get stunned, and then she can push you or ping you. So that's great.
Yep.
And then the biggest thing that is the problem, actually, it's not even the biggest thing. There's one other thing that I'm going to mention, and you can then tell me, Dixon, whatever nonsense you're going to add to it, but she has mood swings. So models within 6, if they activate within 6 of Pandora, she can then discard a card and say, you want to know what? I want that model all the way across the board to go instead. So as
you have to see him.
So yeah, it's like, okay, you can go with your totem, have fun with that. So she controls the activation there. And then finally, if Pandora activated, she's probably going to have Grasping Tentacles up. So what that does is that basically reduces any movement, not just walks and charges, any movement by 2. So that could be pushes, that could be, whatever. And it's just misery. It's once she's in your crew with that up, with Grasping Tentacles up, with the built-in masks, so she has built-in stuns now for resist triggers and mood swings to make it where she can make whatever activate. Like, you have to ask Pandora to activate. You'd be like, Pandora, can I please activate my henchman now? And she's like, no, go with your totem.
And I think that's had like a little like low key buff in this GG with things like ensnare in the pool.
Yeah.
Where rather than scoring, at the end of the turn, you're scoring mid-turn when certain things happen. So the ability to dictate, no, you can't activate that model. You have to activate that one. Oh, I've scored 1 point for ensnare.
It seems good.
This seems real good.
Oh yeah, no, it's 100%. Also, one of the things that this GG has forced me to do is I am playing now with a mature Nephilim in my list more often than not. Yeah, because she doesn't really have a fast schemer beater. So you have to like go outside of keyword for it, and unfortunately, it kind of feels like an 11-point tax. You, what do you call it when you say summary? Yeah, so that was a really nice summary.
Thank you.
Get it.
Thank you.
She's
Lots of experience there.
Yeah, it's very annoying and yada yada. In general, how do you want me to not beard? I guess. What's the name again?
Rich, beard, all good. Yep.
So Rich, so the first thing you have to understand is like she's gonna be a little bit weird because you are expecting that she's gonna die by turn 3.
Interesting.
If she dies any earlier than that, she hasn't actually done her job. But she basically has to die by turn 3 at the earliest. If she dies, you might as well have won the game though. At that point, like, it's very rare that she survived to turn 3, did an activation, died, and then not win. I don't know if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. The main reason is because of this. Pete actually said the 2 reasons, and there's another one. So because of Grasping Tentacles and because of mood swings, you dictate the battle. And you can just hinder basically anything that they want to do. Right? Mm-hmm. So this is the reason why you have to figure out a way to deliver Pandora to your enemy on turn 1. Alright?
Yeah, so what's your goal with Pandora once she's in there, Dixon? Because I think I think the thing about Pandora is that you look at her actions and there's nothing that really sticks out except for her bonus, which is the box opens to put out stunned. Yeah. So besides her bonus to try and get as many models stunned with a willpower 14 attack, by the way, or just simple duel, I should say. Yeah. To get 2 damage and stunned. What else are you trying to do during her activation besides just get in your opponent's face?
Honestly, between Grasping Tentacles, the box opens, and Despair's Influence, you only have 1 action left.
Yeah. Because
you're doing Despair's Influence every turn.
Are you usually just doing that on Pandora to get the built-in mask?
Yeah, it's like, I want to say 3 out of 5 activations that you do with Pandora is going to be give herself some mask.
Okay.
Yeah, the other one is you want to do Grasping Tentacles. The trigger, not necessary because most of the time she's going to be by herself. Mm-hmm. But the box opens is pretty key. That's like super necessary.
Yeah, because I feel like you do that and then you look at your opponent and you say, hey, that's a mighty fine attack you have there. Let me go ahead and do that with self-loathing.
Yeah, no, rarely do I ever want to attack with her. Only whenever I'm playing against a beater that doesn't has a harder wound, and that's rare.
Yeah.
Yeah, stones or harder wound makes it so that self-loading is not great. The best self-loadings that I've ever seen are things like the attack on Loiza.
Okay, so you play Pandora 1 just purely to muck up your opponent and just get them stuck in.
Yes, 100%. Okay. Yeah. Like for example, say you're playing against Outcast, right? You target, even if you have to stone to get a straight, you target the Hodgepodge Emissary, and you use the melee attack. The reason for that is because now she's placed in base-to-base contact with the Hodgepodge Emissary, regardless. Like, she can be 10 inches away, now she's in base-to-base.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
And then he's going to get injured, and then he's going to take damage because of Pandora. But that's not even, like, the big thing. The big thing is now she's in the middle of the enemy crew, and now they have to deal with her.
Yeah, I've seen you do that by copying attacks that have on your heels as well.
Sun Wukong.
Yeah, Sun Wukong.
It's not on your heels because you can't do triggers. I guess you can do triggers with your special trigger. Yeah. But that's like super rare. because they have to have the same suit as the trigger that they have. So it's you have to have a mask, and then they have to have the suit of their own trigger. So it's really weird.
Yeah, but on your heels is a
being
mask
said-
trigger, so
Yeah, exactly. So they have to have a mask as well in that case. But yeah, no, that means that's the reason why it's much better to just like look for that one special, like Sun Wukong, especially. That's actually a perfect model because he's willpower 4. He doesn't have stealth. He doesn't have anything else. He's just willpower 4.
and then here's Pandora.
And then here's Pandora. Yeah, it's super great. I love the silliness that comes with like reading your opponent's attacks.
Well, and I've also seen you not be scared to triple walk turn 1 with Pandora 1.
That was in the olden days before the Kurgan got printed, but you are absolutely right.
I wondered how long before the Kurgan got mentioned. 21 minutes. There we are.
The phrase that I love saying is when you absolutely positively have to deliver a beater into the enemy crew, accept no substitute.
If you can ban Swamp Fiend, ban Swamp Fiend. I'm telling you, do it now.
Yes,
Kurgans are worth banning.
Yeah, it's another reason why I've been using matures, because they ban Swamp Fiend, then you have matures. It's like it's one of those things.
And you used to, I don't think you bring it as much anymore, but you used to bring the Hooded Rider as a taxi as well.
For the same reason, yeah. But again, why would I overpay when I can just pay 9 points?
Yeah. So that's what Pandora 1 does, folks. We'll get into, I think she'll probably be the main focus as we get into the rest of the keyword. But I do want to kind of just touch on the title real quick, just so, Dixon, you can kind of explain when and why you bring the title when you need to.
Yes.
And I'm just kind of curious because she does summon minions, which is pretty decent, and she can hold down an area pretty well. She can change conditions on your opponent's model. So maybe, I don't know, if you feel like there's going to be a focus-heavy crew, maybe you try to bring her to get rid of that. So, like, when do you like to bring the Tyrant Torn?
So the Tyrant Torn is basically all the time, except for when you're the beater or the aggressor.
Okay.
Tyrant Torn is better in general for like all the missions that are right now, especially because of the summons. When you summon a model, they are now engaged with the model, so therefore they need to have either Don't Mind Me or figure out a way to move away from the model.
Well, and also summon models are big because of Cloak and Dagger. They can actually take intel tokens from people.
That's 100% true. Yeah.
Super annoying when you just got a Sorrow Sucker just pop out of nowhere and steal your intel tokens the next turn.
Yeah. So like the better question then, in my opinion, is when do I use the first version of Pandora?
Okay.
So
Okay.
In reality, because in reality, the first version of Pandora, you basically play it if you think you're going to get AoE damage, or if you think that locking down the enemy in their deployment zone is more important. Usually, that's when I play Explore Society or Bayou.
So what on her card for Tyrant Torn do you like in this Gaining Grounds?
Well, it's just that. It's just woe to me, the summoning.
Okay.
Yeah, everything else is about her is so there's a couple of strategies that she's better. For example, you just said Cloak and Dagger.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one is Raid the Vaults. And depending on who you're gonna play against and how the table is set up, you pick the title or the original and you make the crew. And unfortunately, because of Pandora, the power level that she's in, you have to tailor the list to the opposing master.
Okay, so maybe if I'm hearing you right, you're thinking Pandora 1, if, let's say, somebody brings maybe a crew that you kind of want to lock down. Like, let's say they're going to play Zip or something, and you're like, you know what? I just want to lock Zip down. I want to lock his crew down. I want to make it as painful as possible. Let's try to get him in the deployment zone. And you just go straight into the crew.
So in Zip's case, I like Pandora 2.
Okay.
Because she will stun at range, and that's huge.
Yeah, especially with Zip's crew being fast.
Yeah. Now that being said,
So what do you see? So I'm trying to figure out, what do you see in a crew where you're like, this is where I like Pandora 1 to lock him down?
So no, I was gonna say. So there is a point where Zip 1 is actually a thing that you can actually do if your opponent is not ready and your guys are playing Wedge. you can target Zip one and place him into your crew,
Yeah.
and that just GG. I mean, you're gonna kill him. You're gonna put stun on him. You're gonna kill him. He has to get out somehow. It's not easy because you control when he activates now. So there is a place where doing this to Zip is actually good. That being said, it is not recommended because Zip could get the upgrade, and because he attacks size, he can just get out. So you have to game. The reason, number one, by the way, that Zip, you don't want to play with Pandora 1 is because of that. Because he can get the upgrade, target size, and then just kind of bamboozle you into losing the game that way.
Yeah.
So that's why you use the title. But if you believe in yourself that to be a better player than your opponent, go do the wombo combo and put Zip in the middle of your
We're just like, not this guy.
How much does deployment zone factor into that decision making? Because I can see the argument
a lot
for like wedge, like my opponent's going to be kind of a bit bunched up and all this kind of stuff. But when you get into a standard deployment, particularly
that's
if
the
you're
reason why I said that example.
the defender.
I have done that. We're like, oh, it's Zip. Oh, okay, Pandora in wedge. Yeah, I'll take one. Literally because of that reason. It's like my opponent is not ready for the type of shenanigans that I can play, and his Zip is gonna be in my crew. Yeah,
I think if your opponent picks Pandora into corner or even flank, I think most times you can probably expect Pandora 2 in those situations.
Yes. One ton of it's so you do not want to play Pandora in corner. Basically 99% of the time. Yeah, the only reason why I did it in Lone Star Foe Down is because it was double master allowed, and I played Titania. So I sent Titania first, and then I got there with Pandora in turn 2.
Okay. So Pandora 2 summons, I mean, you do that. Her bonus is pretty good for kind of switching up conditions.
Dude. Okay, so sorry to interrupt you, but...
Not accepted.
99% of Pandora 2's game plan is her bonus action.
Yeah, it's stupid.
Yes, it is. Rich, I cannot stress enough. Stun, set things on fire on your own team, 2 models, is probably the number one thing that you should be looking into.
Okay.
Yeah, because the bonus basically you just go, cool, now go ahead and switch out, one condition for now focus or fast.
Now I'm
or
fast
whatever.
or focused, sure.
Because the thing is, Candy activates, makes somebody fast with burnout.
Yep.
And usually I use it only with the bonus action because it doesn't require a TN. You just throw any random crow. They take 2 damage. They're now fast and stuff.
Well,
right?
the worst part is it's not resisted. It's just pick 2 models after this goes off. So you go, I'm going to pick my model to gain focus, and I'm going to pick your model to lose its focus and gain slow.
Correct.
It's just, it's so bad.
Yeah. And she, basically, you can do that for, let's see. So Candy activates. She does a random crow or stun if necessary. Give somebody fast and stun. Take 2 damage. Then she heals him back up with Candy Thingy. She can move into position. Then activate your Poltergeist. Poltergeist gives stun to your second beater. Moves in position. This is all bonus actions, by the way. Literally how stupid it is.
Of course, I'm playing Von Stuck soon, so I guess I shouldn't complain.
Well, I mean, but Von Stuck still gets set on fire and poisoned.
Well, no, I'm talking about complaining about bonus actions stunning people, and I'm like, well, I am playing Von Stuck tomorrow, so I can't complain too much, I guess.
The original stuns crew, yeah.
So once you do that to your 2 beaters, and you give the one that doesn't have fast, you give it fast, and then one that does have fast but has stun, you remove the stun and give it focus. So now you have 2 beaters that are fast and ready to go.
Yeah, and I think the other attack I see you do the most with Pandora 2 is the Weight of Despair. Just, once again, you're giving out stunned, you're doing damage, and you have to discard a random card, which you always pick my Severes.
Yes.
Always.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm like, Dixon, whoa, let me shuffle it up. I shuffle it up in my hand, and then he still picks the Severe. Still finds it. I don't know how.
So the reason is...
Clairvoyant.
No, I just, when you're looking at people's hands, like the way that they look at their hands, you can pretty much try to guess. It's like a Magic the Gathering thing. Back in the day, I used to play a lot of card games, and you can look at the opponent, and based on like their facial expressions, you can kind of guess what certain cards are.
I don't know. I try to mess with you pretty hard. I'm like, wait, let me shuffle it, and I'll have like. There was even one time where you picked, and I was like, no, let me shuffle it first. And I moved my Severe to the same side, the same card that you picked, and you just picked it again.
Yeah. Well, that's because I looked at the cards as they were moving. So obviously, I'm just going to follow it. But yeah,
Monster.
no, this is type. Yeah. So technically, it's completely random because I don't know. I'm just gambling here by doing this. So it's still random. But you can estimate, like, what's the card that it's going to hurt the most.
Well, this is a good example of why, and it's not just her. There's other masters that do, and other models that make you discard random cards. And and actually, I do it just for my opponent not knowing what cards I have. I actually don't keep my cards in from like low to high or high to low. I actually have them mixed up randomly just because I don't want my opponent to be like, okay, he pulled one off the end and that was, only a 10. I know that's his highest card now.
Oh yeah. But like in this case, Pandora doesn't really do. Her variety of attacks is not as crazy.
Yeah.
In either version, but the attacks that she does have are really good.
Yeah.
I love doing Weight of Despair into Woe Is Me and just move into position. Every now and then, when the fighter's already in the middle, like we're already kicking each other's crap. Then No Shelter Here is amazing.
I was gonna say I've seen No Shelter Here just bring my model into Teddy's just maw, just for Teddy to just destroy stuff. And I know a lot of people are kind of down on Teddy sometimes, but with Pandora 2 and obviously Baby Cade, Teddy really scoots around the board. It's pretty silly.
Yeah, I do miss playing Teddy every now and then, but like lately it's been harder and harder.
Yeah, there's a lot of tech pieces now that can take care of the old Tedster.
Well, it's not even Teddy itself. It's Cade.
Well, yeah,
it's like Cade.
Everybody just loves smacking around that baby. I don't know why.
That is the biggest issue. I wish that they
say a lot about
fix
us.
him.
I know.
Because he's supposed to be this assassin model, but he's not. He's basically a taxi for Teddy.
Yeah, and as soon as he gets near anything, people are like, that's going to die.
Yeah.
I think last time you brought Baby Cade, I think I ate it with the Blessed of December.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Don't get me wrong. He had done his job and delivered a full, like, everything. He had fast. He had double focus. He was ready to go. That bear was about to rick somebody's face off.
Yeah, so, Rich, being the newly described Pandora player, is there anything of interest or any kind of thing you have a question about with either the title or the original?
Yes,
Pandy?
I have questions. So I'll nip back to the original Pandora for a second, just to quickly talk about Despair's influence. One, I had not considered using that to just bake in Pandora's defensive triggers. So that's a lovely idea. I'll be stealing that one. But I want to know, how often are you using Despair's influence on the rest of your crew? Obviously, like Baby Cade will benefit massively from Rams, from both his lure and from his knifey stabby style attack. So yeah, like how often are you using Despair's influence on the rest of your crew?
So if Pandora survives past turn 3, because before that, you're
as the rest of the crew catches up to her.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Because like the thing is, like it's happened before where like I
late game is good.
I slingshot Candy all the way into the middle of an enemy crew on turn 2, and then I give Candy hopelessness, because at that point, or I can just give her burnout. It's really depending on how I'm gonna use her. But yeah, if you give her hopelessness, she gets +1 damage to whatever stat Candy does, right? And by the end of the game, the turn, I mean, she will have somebody where she can just, you're stunned, take damage. Now you're going to take +1 damage to whatever your highest attack is. So I've done that. It happens more often than you think, but like 99% of the time, you're giving yourself a mask.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. And like I'm a summoner stan at heart. I spent most of M2E playing Nicodem. Rest in peace. So with the sort of compounding emotions on Pandy 2, the temptation to strip slow off whatever sorrow or aversion you're summoning in is there. I can feel that scratching at my brain. Is that in reality a waste of compounding emotions, because you're not really summoning those models in for their AP, but just for their engaging models, blocking charge lines, stealing stuff, kind of thing?
No. That is a great thing to do. You do it all the. I mean, I do it all the time, because like you're giving them focus, you're giving them fast, depending on their mission. It's super important. But yeah, no, like more often than not, you're removing conditions from your models because your opponent doesn't want to be anywhere near Pandora.
Sure.
Now, if you're lucky enough that your opponent doesn't know to move away from Pandora, you're right. Holy crap. You just start like swapping things around, because you can. One of the things you can do is take out their buffs. Or put a buff that's worse. Sometimes setting somebody on fire alone is just like, they're just gonna be like, are you serious? It's like, yeah, I'm gonna set that model on fire, and that model's gonna have slow, because you can't pick the same one. So you just like remove your focus on these two beaters. Now one is on fire and the other one is slow, or one is on fire and the other one's poison. You know, just. Oh, Pete knows this.
Oh yeah, it's stupid.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, that the game plan that I was telling you about, where you like deliver Pandora into somebody's face, it also works with Pandora too. It's not as good, but it's one of those things you can do.
What's so if you've thrown Pandora 2 at someone, what's her objective in their crew? Because it's quite clear on 1, but what is it on 2?
So you summon somebody. You give everybody that's like so basically. She activates. She goes Weight of Despair on one enemy model, right? You want her to be in a place that has concealing, so either a forest or a cloud bank, something like that.
Sure.
So you just leave her there. I do it usually when I'm playing Raid the Vaults, because you put her, like, say, on the opposing player's closest, quote unquote, vault. The ones that's like right next to their deployment zone. So you can leave her there. And now they have to like send something to her. But then she goes, I activate. Stun on that model. No shelter, some random model that's going to be in the middle of your crew. So he does 1 damage. And summon a model off of the stun model. And compounding emotions. Set things on fire. Slow models. Remove the stun on your model. Like, it's just, depending on what you do. Once you drop like, what's the name? Sorrow. I call them little shits. But like, you drop a Sorrow into the middle of the enemy crew.
You don't call him that. You call him Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah. So the combo that I just explained to you, if the positioning can be correct, you do 2 damage every single time a model activates and does an action. Well, not every time, but like they activate, take a damage. They do an action, they take a damage.
Sure.
So Dixon's also kind of burying the lead here. The reason why you don't care too much about, you don't obviously put her in stupid situations, but the reason you don't really care that she's in the middle of things is because she's one of those models that has Luck Thief. So you're not getting any positives. If you try, you're going to get negatives. And then on top of that, when you miss, you get to heal. So hooray.
I did specify you have to put her in a place that has concealing. Just saying.
Yeah, it's real good. It's fun.
Yeah.
You having fun yet?
I'm not burying any lead here.
The true burying of the lead is the totem that we're going to talk about right now, because when you play against Pandora, enemy number 1 that needs to die is the Poltergeist. However, if you play Pandora 2, I think there's a trigger to summon it back even if you kill it.
Yeah. He's the Palpatine of Malifaux. Somehow, Poltergeist return.
So you would need to kill this model, even though Pandora 2 can bring it back. Because I can guarantee, as soon as that gets... When you see the Poltergeist get next to a model, you need to deal with that. Otherwise, that model is going to die. A very painful death.
Oh, yeah. So to go back a little bit on Pandora 1, number 1 reason why being within 6 inches of your enemy crew is not as bad is because you can shove the Poltergeist down their throat, and then they have to kill the Poltergeist first. And depending on who you force to activate, you're going to murder somebody like right off the bat, because their negatives on their willpower attacks, even with stones, they won't be able to like put you on a 1 or 2, on a flip minus. So then you're just like, all right, your maximum damage. It's happened before that like I hit somebody like say Fuhatsu, and Fuhatsu has to eat 6 damage to the chest like multiple times. It's really hilarious in my opinion.
Yeah, and the big reason is that the poltergeist is such a problem is because, one, it's not insignificant, so it can actually count for schemes and stuff like that.
Distract doesn't exist. It's not a real thing anymore.
Yeah, distraction is a problem. So if you're within 2 of it, you get a negative to willpower duels, which is the entire keyword.
And like I say this as someone who plays a lot of Lucius too. Like I picked up Pandora specifically to complement Lucius too because he's great around the edges, not so great in the middle. Any combination of distraction and boring conversation is going to make me very happy. Like so, I've had it for a while with False Witnesses and Alan Reed. The ability to then just entirely replicate that with Dorian Crow and the Poltergeist appears to me very much.
Yep, Dorian Crow is actually very, very good in the crew for certain matchups. Now, I wouldn't say it's like a must-have in every crew, but he's not a bad model per se.
And also, for some reason, Weeping Widow makes it where enemy models that are ruthless are considered to not have ruthless. So now you have to make all these terrifying tests. So yeah.
Yeah.
That one doesn't come up all the time, but when it does, you get pretty especially if I'm a Bayou player and I paid for the upgrade and now it doesn't even work.
Oh, that's
infuriating.
To sum up Pete's like painful memories, you basically force people to kill this model because you put it right next to the thing that they love the most. If you put the poltergeist right next to the thing that they love the most and they don't kill it after like an activation or 2, that's game. Because like the thing is that turn 2, Pandora is not the first activation. She's the last activation for turn 1, and she's like either the second or third activation for turn 2. The main reason for that, you want to put the poltergeist first, somewhere where the enemy can't deal with it, and to kill something that they love.
Yeah.
And yeah, so mood swings allows for that. Poltergeist then makes it to the target. The Kurgan will deliver the poltergeist. Little things like that.
Also, if you are a crew that loves your markers,
yes,
the poltergeist says, too bad.
No.
Well, I mean, heck, at this point in the game where everything has to drop a ski marker for no reason, telekinesis is going to come out big if he survives.
I think we're like 10 out of 13 schemes now require a scheme marker, something like that.
Yeah.
That's right. And anything that eats schemes is great. That's the reason why Iggy started making it into some of my lists. It's kind of stupid that I had to think about it that way. Yeah, because that model's bad except for 2 jobs. And one of them is removing ski markers.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm playing Rezzers now, so removing all my corpses would make me sad. If you're playing like Mei Fang, scrap markers getting removed would make her sad, which I've played that game. It's not fun. It's like, I got shielded on my models, and Pandora's like, I love that shielded condition you got there. Sure would be a sad thing if it went away.
That's only Pandora 1, and you're not seeing Pandora 1. I know that you get sad, but she's not there all the time.
Well, no, even with Pandora 2, you're like, oh, cool, that shielded you have there. I'm going to switch that out for slow.
Yeah, that's true. I'm not going to deny that. I mean, if you're like close to Pandora, you deserve it.
Oh, okay, like Rich, she's not going to be thrown in my face.
Well, true. But like, I cannot stress this enough. It's like literally 6 inches, Rich. Like literally, if you can deliver her within 6, you have to learn how to keep her alive. But that's the sweet spot. It's 6 inches away from.
That's what stones are for. That's fine.
Yeah. Well, more than that, like positioning is important. But yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I've always said the big lie, and like apologies, Pete and Dixon, if I'm about to peek behind the curtain, but the big lie of hobby podcasts, and I say this as someone who's done like podcasts for 10 years now. The big lie is that the single most important thing in any game is where your models are on the table, and there's not one single podcast that can improve like that skill in your head. You have to put models on the table and do it yourself. Like,
we started mentioning it now. Like this is like the 5th podcast I think in the line of us saying it's like positioning is key. You have to start learning how to do small decisions. Yeah,
because we always talk about it kind of as in like this idea of layers, right? Like you want layers of interlocking just abilities to help build your defenses, but also provide opportunities to launch into an offensive. So like that way, like, okay, my threat's right there. As soon as something comes into that threat range, I can snap the trap and go into it.
Yep. So an example of a layer that I think we kind of like brushed over too fast. So I just want to like say it one more time on Pandora 1. The reason why you want to deliver her right smack dab into the middle of the enemy crew is because most of the time people are not going to be that separate. Like if you hit 3 models with her, that's still fine. But between mood swings and her activating and doing grasping tentacles, because again, she doesn't have to be the first one. So like if she is within 3 very important pieces, right? And she can see the totem and she can see a minion, like that doesn't matter. You can just go, okay, I'm going to discard this card, this 1 or 2 or whatever, and I'm going to have that totem activate. I'm going to activate the Kurgan, me, Dixon, after they activate that totem or whatever. And I'm going to slingshot my poltergeist all the way across the table now to within 2 inches of one of your beaters. Then you as the opponent, again, you're trying to move the model that's within 6 inches of Pandora, but you can't, so you're forcing me to discard a card. Then you discard a card. Then I activate Pandora. And now, the first thing I do, box opens. Second thing I do, grasping tentacles. Mm-hmm. And then from that on, you have 2 actions left. More often than not, since you're playing against good players, you want to do the Spares to Influence now. If you think that you don't need the Spares to Influence because your opponent's not doing the correct, like handling of the situation, then you go self-loading. And that, will end the game pretty much on the spot, depending on who you're playing against.
Yeah. And they might just sell their Malifaux models and never come back.
Yeah, because after that, they have to start rescuing it. And if, like, the poltergeist activates, that's even worse, because then he gets to put stun out. He gets to eat something by doing 3 damage for some ungodly reason.
So I think the next spot we're going to go to is the model that you're always going to see with the Pandora crew. I don't think she has a lot of auto includes. I think there's 2. But one of them is definitely Candy. You're always going to see Candy in a Pandora crew.
Yeah,
so.
The 2 auto includes are the only 2 are the Kurgan and Candy.
I thought you were going to say Carver. I was like,
Oh fuck no.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. I'm sorry.
So Dixon, talk to us about your girl Candy here. Your hey girl hey.
I mean, Candy is like the second reason why if Pandora dies by turn 3, you don't mind.
Well, she provides the next layer of just disgusting pain that is going to make your opponent kind of rage. So yes. I think that's where we kind of have to first start is with what is it? Corrupted Innocence is the aura that she has.
Yeah, there's literally nothing else on this card that's more important than Corrupted Innocence. It's
once that's in range, you're in the danger zone.
Yeah. I love the why the fuck does it say Anne?
Yep, that's it.
Man.
That's
Change
it. That's
your name.
That's like when I saw that ability for the first time, because I played M2E for a long time, went away, played Guild Ball, came back to M3E, and it's like cool. Playing a game against Pandora, and it's like surely that says or.
Yeah,
surely.
Discard a card or gain stunned, and it's like
perfectly reasonable ability.
Do both.
Perfectly reasonable,
yes.
but no.
Actually, it gets even worse. Like the more you. Because the thing is that I played Candy even with what's her face, old lady, Zoraida,
Big Mama Z.
And in Zoraida you discard 2 cards and get stunned.
So Dixon, just for people that don't play Pandora a ton, just know that Candy is going to be either the second to last or last activation of every turn.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because that ability is only there if she has it activated.
Yeah. Manipulative doesn't even manipulative doesn't even register on me.
Yeah, it doesn't even
somebody
matter.
that decides to. Well, if to attack her and stuff, there's a different thing, because you still are negatives only if she doesn't activate. Yada yada yada, right?
Yeah.
So against Zoraida and models that can force an activation, she dies real fast. So be aware of that.
Well, and here's the other thing, right? So. Dixon, what is the main condition that your crew is putting out as a Pandora player?
Stun.
So you have all this stunned models on your crew. Like everything's going to be stunned at some point in the game. It happens. And she has a trigger that's built in on defense, by the way, where it's like, oh yeah, by the way, if you don't declare a trigger, I reduce the damage you do to Candy by 2. And guess what? When you're stunned, you don't declare triggers.
It gets even better. She also has it for the willpower. She just doesn't have it suited.
Yeah.
And no, it's very important because it's damage reduction that is not armor. And because it's not armor, there's a bunch of effects that don't ignore this. Yeah. It's just so hilarious when somebody is like, all right, take 4. And I go, well, you didn't pick a trigger, so I'm going to reduce it by 2. And then I'm going to stone for an additional, it's like, why? Why is she so tanky when you don't know how to play against her?
Yeah, this tiny, tiny model is tankier than like this hulking huge armored dude in other crews. It's pretty ridiculous.
Oh, yeah. I love it. I love it.
Dixon, can you walk me through the, like, hey, you're basically taking 3 or 4 damage combo you do with Candy?
Oh, Rich, I don't know. Have you ever been hit by the glimpse of insanity?
Oh, for sure.
The one that says, take 2 damage from burnout, now you're fast, and now you're stunned?
Yeah, and of course she's the only one. I mean, whilst Glimpse of Insanity is pretty prevalent throughout the crew, hers is the only one that's stat 6 for some reason.
No, there's multiple that are stat 6.
Oh, is
She's
it?
not the only one. Oh, yeah. But, like, the important part about her is that she does 3 forms of damage, totaling up to 4 total damage. So she hits you with the stun, that's a damage. She hits you with the fast, that's a damage. And she hits you for 2 damage because that's what the trigger says. So you take 4 damage from a bonus action from her.
Yeah, just for it going off. There's just a resist flip. And if the poltergeist is there, you're at a negative.
So presumably the ping of misery for the stunned is coming from another source?
Yeah, you have another.
Yes.
Yeah, you have another model there.
Yep.
So remember that you're catapulting Pandora into the enemy crew, and Candy's gonna join her soon.
Oh,
depending on the setting. Yep. Like I want to say most of the time you send in the poltergeist because you want to get something out of the poltergeist before you send Candy. But it's happened multiple times where like my opponent's not ready for it, so I catapult Candy instead of the poltergeist. It's a thing because like if you're prepared for it, people don't they try to kill Candy, they try to fight their way through. Don't do that. Just get out of the area.
The worst part about, and we'll talk about that towards the end, but the worst part of that combo with Glimpse of Insanity and taking 3 forms of damage to take 4 is, if you have armor, it's like, okay, you're still taking 3 because it's 2, then 1, then 1. And then even if you're a Soulstone user, okay, what are you going to use? A Soulstone for the 2, and then a Soulstone for the 1, and then a Soulstone for the other one? That's why it just puts your models in bad positions.
That's why
as far as reducing.
Why I love Sebastian Baker is like the amount of damage he put. There's nothing he can't kill, in my opinion.
Hitting you with his flowers.
Yeah, just bapping you around the face with poses. Just because it's 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 like all in one is the most broken damage because it's practically irreducible.
Yep.
Yeah. No, it's the reason why this crew can kill pretty much anything. Because the thing is, I've had many tournament. This is our tournament games, where like everything is just taking 1, 2, 3, like that every turn, right? So 1 damage here, 1 damage here, like every other activation. Reason why I love Sorrows. Sorrows teleport into the fight. They have Misery Loves Company. Teleport for 8 inches plus base, yada yada. And once they're in the middle of an enemy crew, every activation that they don't kill him, it's 1 more damage and 1 heal.
Well, and Lord help you if you're a conditioned crew playing against Pandora, because whatever conditions you put out, they're going to strip away to get positives. They're going to strip away to ping you for damage or move you. And it doesn't even matter if it's like poison, because Pandora can do that with any condition. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I remove your poison and put fire now.
Yeah,
so
like Candy is just so flexible for the crew because she can do damage by stealing others' attacks. She can, obviously stun and do damage with her burnout trigger. She has on your heals, so that's really good too.
And she's the beater. She's the one that you want using that self-loading on people because of hopelessness. See, now that they're stunned, then you can activate Candy.
So I will tell you
that mask.
A funny story with Candy. Kind of working, but kind of not working, is I was playing Hoffman 2, and I was playing against Cody, who was playing, I think, Zoraida 2. And he brought Candy out a keyword for self-loathing because he knew I was probably going to play Hoffman 2. And Hoffman 2 had that ability where he would attack you and then place you within 2 inches of the model, him basically doing the attack. So Candy was like, I'm going to use Hoffman's attack to hit him, but then place him within 2 of Candy. So it was like a 10-inch kidnap he was trying to do because he was trying to kidnap Hoffman 10 inches away and place it next to Candy. But luckily I had lead-line coat, so I thwarted that attack.
Ooh, there you go.
That's the only reason why that worked out too. It's kind of funny when he told me that story. I started laughing. It was like, yeah.
And people were like, I don't know why you put lead-line coat on Hoffman, and I was like, that's why you put it on Hoffman.
Yeah, laugh off is like, I'm not joking. Like, this is not even a pun. It's 50% of the reason why people have lead-line coat.
Laugh off is great against Pandora.
Yeah, laugh off is great. You could literally just end that in a sentence right there. Yep. Laugh off is great.
I mean, just go back 10 minutes where we were talking about, the single most important thing of a game of war dollies on a table is where they are on that table. So being able to dictate, you don't get to touch my stuff.
Yeah,
incredible.
Don't touch my stuff.
For that reason, Dixon, do you find it tough to play into guild sometimes because of the laugh off and stuff?
Yeah. I mean, you have to make concessions pretty much against every crew. The only one that's like really, really bad is 10 Thunders, because like whenever you play against 10 Thunders, they have really good roofless guns. So you have to go through the field of fire,
close the gap quick,
to get to them. Yeah, if you don't close the gap quick, you just lose. And they're not very fast. Yeah, your crew is not very fast, is what I mean. Woe is. That's the main reason why Kurgan exists. Like, he's...
So, let's talk about your other auto include, the Kurgan.
Yeah. Best model in Neverborn. I said it.
So why do you love the Kurgan so much? I assume the Kurgan made I haven't finished the top 10 list yet, but I assume the Kurgan made that list.
Oh, yeah. He's up there. He didn't make the top 3 as much as I wanted to, but he was there.
So walk us through your boy, the Kurgan here.
Kurgan, super simple activation. You activate, he does Shifting Earth, which is base +3 plus his base plus 3 more inches of displacing. So you can displace a model 8 inches from where they were to another point of the table. That's stupid. Because then on top of that, you get to push that model 5 plus base plus the edge of his deck. It's so dumb. It's so dumb.
Yeah, so I mean, you do that, and that's at least, I want to say it's probably at least about an 8-inch displace with Shifting Earth.
Yep.
And then after that, you use Avalanche to then push it another 5.
Depending. Sometimes I do 3 to put it at the edge of my 6-inch range, and then 5 inches from that point.
Yeah.
On the table, it might as well be 18 inches.
Yeah, it's pretty good. And Avalanche isn't once per, activation. So, I mean, you could do that to a couple different models.
Yeah. I've done it. I had a game actually recently against Harley where I was like trying to teach him, because he wanted to see Pandora. He wanted to see other keywords. And I was like, all right, I'm going to rip this bandage off and I'm going to play Pandora and may God have mercy on your soul. And he's like, it can't be that bad. It can't be that bad. And then the Kurgan proceeded to like deliver Candy right in front of Lucius, deliver Pandora right in front of like 3 of his minions or something. I forgot. Oh, his lawyers. Like, it was pretty dumb.
Yeah, I mean, it's great for unpacking, and it's also just a solid model for mid to late game as well. Because it's armor 2, so if you don't have the tech for it, it can be pretty hard to take down. And then Tangled Roots, it's going to have a 3-inch range melee pretty much when he puts his mudslide up. Yep. So that just allows you to just engage models so they can't interact in this, gaining grounds 4.
I mean, think about it. Any model that can displace a friendly model 18 inches is absurd. And the fact that the Kurgan does it to any model, I mean, come on. Like, how can you not love it? So,
it's probably the best unpack model in Neverborn.
It is. Sure. It's 100%. It's not even close. Because, like, the thing is, like, if you can somehow get him into position, you can deliver pretty much any beater into any part of the table. No questions asked. Sorry, Rich. Do you have any questions, Rich?
No, you're good. Like, It's a great model. I love the little voodoo doll on the top of its head.
He's kind of pointing that way.
Like in my head, that is the Kurgan, the little voodoo doll, and he's just animating like the big mound of whatever. Like
you're actually right, because like the Kurgan, what it is basically an entire colony of spirits that animates like part of the swamp. So it's not one total. It's like the voodoo doll is the leader of a collection of spirits.
Nice.
It is a difficult model to paint well, I will say that. I think I did it okay, but I'm just like, this is a bunch of just not it.
How many different greens do I have?
Yeah, then you got mushrooms, so you can play a little bit with that, but it's like brown and green, and that's about it.
Yeah, you can put a couple of death caps in it, and like myceliums, and it just pops.
I think if you're good at like, object source lighting, you could do some cool things with like the eyes and mouth, but that's not me.
No.
Yeah. So, Rich, I've been talking for a little bit. I'm so sorry. What other questions do you have, like, to try to learn, like, the order, or do you have any models you want to play with?
Yeah, I want to touch on. Seeing as he was introduced in the title box, I've heard an awful lot about Dorian Crow in Performer.
Yes.
I'd love to hear your thoughts on him in WoW. I mean, to me, he looks great because he's got boring conversation on his card, which I love. Plus, I also really like that between Don't Mind Me and Don't Mind Me and Losing Interest. Well, not so much Don't Mind Me. He can effectively do Ensnare in one activation, which with Pandora's mood swings seems to combo real good.
Oh yeah, like 100%, 100%. Like you have said 3 things already that it does exactly what you bring the model for. You are absolutely right. It's because of the facility that he has to drop scheme markers. I'm sorry, not drop scheme markers. To remove dropped scheme markers. Sorry, I apologize. I said that wrong.
Okay.
He removes drop scheme markers just by doing disapproving glance, right? So that's huge.
That's great. Yeah, anyone that's played against Gluttony knows how good that is. Like,
yes. And it's only stat 5, which is like the big problematic thing that people think about. But in reality, you bring this model out in crews. If you bring him against Resurrectionists or Bayou, you're gonna get a whole bunch of work out of him, because there's a lot of beaters or a lot of good models that are willpower 4. And boring conversation just shuts down right quick, especially if you position the poltergeist just right. Yeah, poltergeist in this model are great friends together if you're not planning on dropping everything on top of your enemy. So since you're playing Pandora 2, you don't need to put everything on top of people, right? That's the number one reason why I play Pandora 2 now, is because you can have Dorian Gray and your totem go off on their own little adventure on one part of the map. And if your opponent sends out, say, Archie can't really kill Dorian Crow if Dorian Crow activates first. He just can't. Yeah, it's super dumb.
And what I've found particularly with Alan Reed, is that you can park him in the middle of the board and people will just get an enormous hate boner for that model, and just be like, I have to commit 1 billion resources to getting rid of this thing, and you're like, cool, he's
cool story, bro.
Yeah, like that's why he's there. Is like he's like, to go back to old 40k, he's my distraction Carnifex. Like he's in my list to annoy you, to make you send your billion things across the board to a position where scoring's not going to happen, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, Dorian Crow was annoying like last edition, or last Gaining Grounds, I should say, because losing interest, would help move models around, and he would cause some problems with conditions and this and that. But I think this edition he's even better, because really the Don't Mind Me, which is huge in 3 of the strategies, and then on top of that the boring conversation. So you have to test to just do what you want to do. Around these ballot boxes, or around the cloak and dagger markers and things like that.
And this, again, I want to point out, this Disapproving Glance is huge. Like, it's so big. Because the changes to warts in a way where you pick a point on your base and a point on the base of whatever marker or model you're pointing at. You say a model is on top of a marker, right? You do Disapproving Glance, you can still shift the model completely to the opposite end of that marker. it's still touching the marker, but now they're on the completely opposite end. And if that gets them outside of the zone or the rated vaults or the ballot or whatever it is you're trying to defend, that's huge. And again, boring conversation plus the distraction aura makes it so that you can't even vote half the time.
Yeah.
Like it's stupid how efficient this model can be now.
Do you find, like, in general, just because obviously you've played a lot more Neverborn than I have, there are certain factions have fantastic defensive upgrades, like, you know, whether that's Guild or Resurrectionists or Ten Thunders, and as a result, their enforcers have the benefit of existing within factions that can make them considerably more resilient. Neverborn, Explorer Society don't have that. So do you find, just in general within Neverborn, that enforcers are penalized? Not penalized is not the right word. Not as they, you know, because they don't have access to those incredibly good defensive upgrades, that they're just not as strong as, you know, an enforcer in Guild with Leadline Coat.
So the quick answer is yes. The more complex answer is that we do have some enforcers that I don't understand how they pass QA, but I love that we have. Number one example, Vasilisa. How does that model? Because like the thing is, we used to also have Serena Bowman. And Bowman, I don't know if you know, but she got nerfed fairly hard. I still use her every now and then because she's still really good. Yeah, exactly. Vasilisa, on the other hand, never got a nerf. She has an ability that is board wide. If you're within 2 inches of a puppet, you're gonna get staggered. Now, I cannot stress how amazing that is if you're playing Pandora 1, because now you're staggered, and then I do Grasping Tentacles with Pandora, and now you're basically -4 to any movement that you do.
Oof.
Yeah, you're locked in place. And it's happened before that I play Hinematsu and Vasilisa on the same list while I'm playing Pandora. I shoot, Hinematsu at you, like second to last activation. Then I shoot, Pandora across the table, and now 1 or 2 of your models are staggered. Those models are not escaping anywhere. Yeah, it's just little things like that.
So I think the next thing that I want to talk about with Pandora is probably her minions. I think she has. What?
Since he's talking about
what, Dixon?
enforcers, since he's talking about enforcers, I just want to run through real quick that Cade and Iggy are not really good, but they still have a place. I did say the taxi with Teddy. If you're gonna do the Teddy taxi and deliver a double focus, fast teddy bear into the enemy crew, I'm telling you right now, that is sometimes like game winning just on itself. One activation of that.
Yeah, if your opponent can't deal with Teddy, it'll wreck the game.
Yeah, it will just end the game on like turn 2. Like it's that like efficient, right? So if you lose Baby K before you deliver Teddy, then it sucks. But that's it. That's literally the only reason why you will have Baby Kate on all this.
So why would you ever bring Iggy then?
Iggy is unfortunately, and both fortunately, I guess, one of the best condition removals in the faction. So you get Iggy, you put Eldritch Magics on him, and now he can automatically remove fire and any other condition. That's it. Literally. That's the only tech piece for Iggy. You give him Eldritch Magic, which gives him the spell magic, and because of Opportunist, he can automatically remove stun and fire. Yeah, it's super dumb, but it's literally and he's won me games because of that. To the point that people chase him in those games. They're like, okay, I need to chase that stupid guy before he removes it from Pandora or Candy.
Yeah, and I feel like in a lot of situations, the 3 minions are better than those 2 models that you brought.
100%. Which is why I wanted to just run real quick through those 2 models, because they're enforcers, and we were talking about enforcers.
The one I hate the most is the Aversion, for sure.
Very quickly on Iggy, in this gaining ground, is there value in being able to arson 3 times? That 20-inch bubble of, here are 3 scheme markers that I'm going to remove.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to trying that out. I haven't played him yet in this gaining grounds until I started looking into my cards again, just get a refresher.
Sure.
this episode. And then I was like, oh yeah, I should be playing Iggy again because I do see like hundreds of scheme markers now. It's ridiculous.
I mean, centrally, the poltergeist is going to fill that role. But if you just need to like reach out and take away power ritual from one corner, then being able to, you got a 20-inch range. Move twice, 10-inch arson, bosh.
Yes.
For a 6, that's pretty decent.
Oh yeah, no, like he's always been a little fast bastard because like he has reckless, he's speed 5, so like it's not necessarily 15 inches is not something to scoff at, but he just dies when anybody looks at him funny.
Yeah, if you put him anywhere near anybody, you just see a puff of smoke just.
Yeah, he implodes as long as you get a trigger. And guess how damage is done in this game if not with triggers?
True.
Yeah.
So can we talk about how I hate this aversion?
Okay, sorry. All right, so going into our minions, every minion in this keyword is actually great.
Gold, Jerry, it's gold.
Yeah,
I mean, they're all incorporeal for a start.
That's exactly why. Like that's the number one reason why they're great is because they're all incorporeal.
But here's the reason why the aversion's the worst one. Okay, and
worst as in like the best.
And this is why Pandora 2 is a problem because she's probably
fear of sock puppets there, Pete?
I do. It reminds me of Mankind just, with Sacco just causing terror in the WWF. And it's just, and that's my favorite.
That's how I'm painting that.
That's my favorite aversion model too. You should. But
I'm sat here in a William Regal shirt.
There you go. But the thing that makes the aversion the worst and to play against, but obviously the best, is just the antipathy, however you want to pronounce it.
Antipathy.
And it's like, oh, hey, you moved. Make this willpower test, or I push you 3 inches away.
That's great.
Yep. Oh, it's like it's so gross when you have like the the poltergeist nearby. Oh, it's the best.
This includes charges. This includes places. This includes whatever, and it is going to screw up your game. You are going to do this, and Dixon's a gentleman, and he'll remind me, hey, don't forget about this 4-inch aura. Hey, don't forget about this. And you have to grit your teeth sometimes and just do it, and then you just fail it, and you're like, well, push me away. I guess my activation's over. F me, I guess.
Well, what's wild about it is it doesn't say during activation.
No.
That was like the first thing that leaped out at me is it doesn't say like when this model like finishes a move during its activation. So if you've used the Kurgan or Misery or anything to move an enemy model.
Yeah.
And I love me some moving an enemy model. Like
absolutely.
Then this kicks in.
The thing is that you can get so much mileage out of this with Pandora 2, because Pandora 2, when you do the damage from Misery, you push a model. You move a model 2 inches. So before you have to, with Pandora 1 specifically, you have to choose whether you want to do the damage or not.
Yeah.
With 2, you just do the damage and you get to move something. So what's happened with the aversion is people will come in, they do the thing. Sometimes they forget that they're within 6 inches of, say, Carver. And they try to like get focus when they activate. So then you trigger Misery from Pandora 2. You get pushed 2 inches. You're now within 4 inches of the aversion. You fail because of whatever reason. Like you are down to like 1 or 2 cards in your hand. You don't want to
Poltergeist.
Exactly. And then all of a sudden it's like, poof, you're completely out of the zone.
Well, because keep in mind, willpower 13... most models need an 8 to pass that.
Yes. That's 100% the reason why. Because like even if they have the card in the hand, do you really want to cheat an 11?
Yeah.
Like it's just like, come
on.
On.
Lord forbid you're playing like Bayou or something with like a willpower 3 or 4, and it's like, oh, you got to cheat a severe to pass this thing.
Yeah.
And at no point have you mentioned hazardous terrain. Like, we've not talked about like the mysterious emissary. Not talked about like
pits of lava.
Like exactly. Like, so all of these little tiny moves, all of a sudden, it's 5 damage.
That's the big problem. I think that's when Dixon looks at the board and he sees like some hazardous terrain. He's like, oh, there's this barbed wire that hands out this injured. Let me just throw you into that and mangle you.
Yes, and then you're taking damage from the once per activation, and then you're also injured, and now I'm terrifying 14. Like it stacks so freaking much. I love conditions, man.
Yeah, versions are good. It doesn't even they could just have that ability and it'd be worth bringing them.
But he has they have two more.
3 other ways of moving models.
Yeah.
Dude, the
like
worst
terrorize,
one is
scatter,
terrorize.
Yeah.
That's like no. Terrorize is the worst one that they have in the card, and it's still great. Like literally, because why is it great? It has on your heels. Why does it have on your heels? Why? I love it so much.
And they have scatter, and they have just so.
Dude,
Scatter's unresisted. You don't even need to flip. They just go, hey, surprise, and then you're 6 inches from where you were.
So I love that he has heave on his melee attack.
That's bad. Like bad for your opponent.
Oh wow, it's got 5 ways of moving models.
Yeah. No,
I didn't even see heave.
They're so good.
Dude, they are amazing. They are amazing. So when you like the best thing about this model, above everything else that we've talked about, is that he can be summoned by Pandora too. So whenever you summon him in the middle of the enemy group, remember when I said that I played a game against Pete where I was like 5 inches away from everything in his group? I summoned one of these models literally in front of his master, and he had to kill it. It was so dumb,
and you're just wasting
3 activations.
Just wasting, master AP to not kill this aversion because it's incorporeal.
Yeah. So turn 2, he had one model that was outside of 6 inches of his deployment zone. Every other model was within 6 inches of his deployment zone. Yeah, he conceded. I think it was like bottom of 3. He's like, all right, screw this game.
Well, there's just sometimes you're playing against Pandora and you're just like, I don't feel like playing anymore.
I don't feel like playing anymore.
I'm taking my ball and I'm going home.
So yeah, summoning this model in the middle of the enemy crew can just spell disaster because now they're not really getting anywhere. He doesn't really do a lot of damage, but between Antipathy, Heave, and Scatter, I've removed so many models off of points. It's so dumb.
Sure.
They have to get double walk back into the zone. That's how stupid it is.
Yeah, when I say probably Liza's are probably the ones that I see you bring the least, Dixon. When do you like bringing those?
If I'm playing the Mysterious Emissary, I bring one in. They're 4 points. Sometimes I bring one with a Sorrow so that she can go ahead, move forward, and then the Sorrow can teleport to her. It's just little things like that.
Okay.
Yeah, they're 4 points, incorporeal, and good stats. Normal stats for a model.
I would say Sorrows are definitely kind of your minion schemer. They're just really mobile, and that's the model that I think I see you scheme the most with when you play Pandora.
Yeah, because they're 5 points. They have 5 health, incorporeal, normal stats, and they can teleport to friendly models. So you put all those things together, and I mean, he's super cheap. Why not, right?
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
They're a decent holder for the upgrade that gives Nefarious Pact.
No, you don't want to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't want to give an Ancient Pact to anybody that's not Pandora or Candy or one of your other beaters like Hinamatsu.
Okay.
Yeah. You want to put it on something sturdy that you like. Pandora 2 survives to the end of the game almost every game that I play her. So you want to go first or get the first to choose the first activation every turn.
Is this where we tell people if they hate Black Jokers to play Neverborn?
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, you never want to fail that summon. That's the key part.
Every time I get excited about Dixon flipping a Black Joker when he plays Neverborn, it's always the one that has the stupid upgrade. And he's just like, I'll just flip a new card. I was like, I got excited. I got so excited.
Famously, I have flipped the Black Joker and the Red Joker twice in the same activation of Hinamatsu.
Seems legit.
Yeah. So, by the way, Rich, I have played Hinamatsu in tournament play multiple times as the leader of the crew.
Fair.
So Hinamatsu as leader with Ancient Pact, she has 3 actions and Flurry.
Puppets are good, turns out.
Yep.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Bring back Collodi.
I loved Collodi. Like there was a crew I could take to a tournament in a pencil case. But yeah, I was going to say, like, if you hate Black Jokers, presumably that's why you're putting hanged and everything at the moment, Pete, just to
Yes, he is. It's so funny.
You know what's better than ignoring the Red Joker or the Black Joker is making it the Red Joker.
Yeah.
Making both the Red Joker and the Black
Joker.
Joker.
Well, in that bat rep we posted on YouTube, Dixon did flip the Red Joker against the hanged, and it was pretty funny.
I cried a little inside.
That's worth watching.
I was like, that red Joker would be great if it
If
didn't
it
count as a
wasn't
black
against
Joker.
a hanged. So yeah, the Sorrows are definitely good little schemers for you. I mean, and you can summon these as well. So if you're playing Pandora 2, just summon it early, and then it can go scheme for you the rest of the game.
Fair.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Lissa looked better to me in Euripides. Is that about right?
No, she's equally good.
Okay.
No, she's equally.
Dixon's
good.
like idiot.
Yeah,
No,
100%.
I want him to be aware that this model is actually good. It's just you can expect a lot out of a 4-point model.
Yeah, they
Oh,
die.
sure.
The Liza hits just all of the things correctly. She has the right health, the right abilities to keep herself alive long enough.
I will say Dixon has gotten me once or twice with doing Bring It, and then making one of my models walk into a hungry land marker.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, that wasn't fun. Wasn't fun.
It's so good. God, it's
When
so
you
good.
add the emissary to Pandora, I just want to punch infants. It's just so frustrating.
It is beautiful. It is. Yeah, because that's another. By the way, that's another beauty about playing Dora is that you can play her with pretty much any of the versatiles, and you'll get something out of them.
Sorry, all I heard then, like, now all I wanted to see is, like, you playing with, like, Dora the Explorer proxying.
That's how I call her. I call her Dora.
Yeah, that's what James said in the chat. He's like, yeah, there's so much synergy between her and most of the versatiles.
Dude, like it's 100%. She has synergy with Neverborn in general.
Yeah.
Like she can make anything in Neverborn better. The problem is that everything that she does, you have to basically commit. You're like, all right, I'm within 6 inches of everything that you love. If I am dumb, I'm going to lose her.
Yeah, so...
And that's...
Go ahead, Rich.
That's only, like... And again, I say this from a position of complete ignorance. So I'd value your input on this, Dixon. Like, going through and reading all of the abilities in the WoW keyword. And let's not be about the bush. There are some absolute horror shows of abilities.
Yeah.
Why does it say and? But, like, if you don't do these things, like, if you're not crippling your opponent with these abilities, you're dead. Like, you know, there's nothing above a defense 5. There's, like, you know, there's no armor. There's little cheeky ways of doing damage reduction and stuff like that. So I think for people like me that have suffered long and hard at the hands of Pandora over various editions, like, if for whatever reason you're not nailing all of these control abilities, you're not putting all of these layers in, there's nothing to save these models.
Correct. No, you have to accept that some of them are going to die. I said in the beginning of all this, Pandora's more than likely going to die turn 3. If she doesn't die by turn 3, you are crushing your opponent at that point. Yeah, it's really, really rare that Pandora survives past turn 3, but at that point you have already won the game. Yeah, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, so looking at other versatiles and even out of keyword, Dixon, is there any other models that you found really sing with either version of Pandora?
I mean, not counting versatiles, is that what you said?
No, I said versatile or out of keyword.
Okay, well, versatile, I said Hinamatsu. Because of Candy can make anybody good, so even Angel Eyes. Literally, I don't think I exaggerated when I said every single versatile in the game just gets better under Pandora because of condition manipulation. Yep. Just that. The best one I would have to say is the Mysterious Emissary because of the stagger. I know it sounds stupid.
More conditions.
But you put stagger plus grasping tentacles like James said on the chat, and it just bulldozes any plan that you had on those models.
Yeah, I've played into that where literally I'm just stuck fighting in this little phone booth barely outside my deployment zone, and I really can't do anything. I mean, I remember that one Hoffman game we played where I think it was turn 3 where I was like, all right, we're done here. Like, I'm sitting here, I'm not doing anything. The Mysterious Emissary has ruined my day.
Yep.
We're done.
Yeah. I mean, I've had multiple games where, like, people don't see the Mysterious Emissary as a threat until it hits them one time. Like, oh, my models are staggered.
And you realize
Mysterious
how
Emissary.
terrible it is.
Yeah, Mr. Emissary is gonna hit that model that's now movement 3. And now all of these models are taking, Hungryland markers. And then Pandora is just smacked up in the middle of it, be it, Pandora 1 or Pandora 2. If it's the title, you summon one Liza, and all of a sudden they're taking extra damage just by existing. Because the Liza is just, like, looking at them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's stupid. I love it. I love it so much.
So, what strategies and schemes do you think Pandora is going to be good at in gaining rounds 4?
When you need to sit in a zone, or when you need to, like, force somebody to be in a certain zone. So, like, Cloak and Dagger, I love. Because, one, your summons can steal, and your summons can just be in the area, and now your opponent is like, oh, I can move the thing 4 inches. It's like, yeah, I'm not going to grab the thing. I'm going to steal from you. So you're just staying there and be like, hi, and just grab things from the enemy and stuff.
Yeah, and
that's cool.
I was going to say, I know Raid the Vaults, she's just standing in areas and she can push you out of areas. So, I mean, that one's, to me, that's probably the most obvious one for Pandora. I don't know if ballots, I was just saying, I know that Raid the Vaults is probably the most obvious one, Dixon, because of all the pushes and stuff that you have. And I was just saying that I don't think ballots and plant explosives are probably the two I think she's weakest at.
The weakest. I think plant explosive is by far the weakest that she has. She's not very good at moving and doing something productive.
Yeah.
She is great at, I am in this area.
I'm here.
And you need to deal with me. So if you can force your opponent into that, that's better.
That makes sense. Now, for me, again, I'll bring up Lucius 2, just because that's the master that I've played most with in this edition. Like, for me, my game plan is always, I'm going to get to 8 VP.
Me too.
Like, I'm going to get to 8 VP, I'm going to get there as fast as I can. Turn 2, I'm scoring 3. You're going to be on the back foot from a scoreboard perspective for the whole game. You say you like woe into Cloak and Dagger. Cloak and Dagger requires 10 AP to score full points. So is your objective here less, I'm going to get to 8 VP as quickly as possible? It's, I'm going to stop my opponent getting beyond 3 or 4. So is Pandora to put that better? She's more of a denial piece for you rather than a score.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to get to 6 VP.
And you're going to get
and you're
nothing.
not going to get to... Yeah, you're going to get to 3, maybe 4.
You get nothing, sir.
Yeah, because that's she is a control master. That's one of the reasons why
because
she's
you have to
not
think
as great.
there's so many times where you'll activate a model, and I've done this a lot of times where I activate a model, it's stunned so it doesn't get triggers, it's in hungry land and staggered so you can move like an inch and a half because it's severe terrain.
If grasping tentacles.
Yeah, that too. And you're just sitting here like, I guess I'm gonna double walk my master and charge.
It has happened where like my opponent concedes when their master can only move 1 inch.
Yeah.
Per
Because at that
action.
point, it's like, what are you going to do? Like, literally, you're stuck here. Like, if you made the mistake of bunching up and like half your crew's in this terrible situation, you just lose the game on the spot because you got punished for being in a bad position.
Yeah. I mean, that again...
Which in a normal game might have been an okay position.
And we started this entire conversation with she's solidly mid-tier, and there's a very good reason for that. Good players will just try to, like, get her dead before turn 3.
So I'll play against Pandora differently because I have tried my hardest to try and interact with her effectively. I've tried to be like, okay, let me see if I can manage Pandora this way. And the best way I find to play against Pandora is to displace her key models, kill key models like the Poltergeist, and then just avoid the crap out of her. So, like, if I can force it where I'm not fighting where she wants to be, and I can go somewhere else and disrupt other pieces. Like, I think my shining moment on the hill was taking Candy with Bonasuva and just chucking her 10 inches up the board and just being like, away, you foul little child demon.
Yeah. The second, I think the most impressive game that we've had was you played Tult 2. and I killed everything in your crew except for Tull and your 2 cannons. And the last 2 rounds, Rich, this man just focused just on scoring the last 2 VPs that he could get, because I was capped at like 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had focused so much on killing that I was actively locked at 5. I couldn't
And there is such a thing when you play against Pandora as just throwing sacrificial lambs to her, right? Just saying like, I'm going to throw, and in that situation, it was before Tull got nerfed, so I was just like, hey, Pandora, just deal with the wall, deal with Watson, deal with Tull, and then I'm going to score with my points on other places on the board. And that worked pretty well. I think I won by a point, maybe.
Yep. Yeah, you did. That was literally, those are the 2 games that I remember with Pandora where, like, I won the attrition, but, I lost the game.
Okay, so like of the 13 available schemes,
yeah.
I'm not going to ask you to go through each and every single one of them.
No,
but are there any that when they pop up might as well just be blank spaces, and you're just like, that I'm not even going to consider that? Like, is it like the outflanks, the power rituals?
Power ritual.
Yeah.
Yeah, power ritual. Outflank, I haven't tried it in this edition, but historically it's been a terrible scheme for her. So yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I haven't tried it in this edition because it's now easier. You don't need 2 schemes and 2 models on opposite corners. I mean, on opposite sides of the center line. You just need 1 scheme and 2 models.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a lot easier. Maybe that extra action, will let me get there.
That's so cool. do you think the reason why, and this can be to both of you too, is the reason why people hate Pandora just because maybe they have these angry memories of just, being almost like a newer player, or just not being as familiar with her and just hating her? Or do you think people just hate her even if they know what she does? Because I know what she does and I still hate her.
Pete, it's 100% the things that we've been talking about for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
There's no tricks about why people hate her, dude. You just... If you can... When you hear this podcast, you're going to notice your voice just going into this... like panic-induced. That's the reason why I just like let you cook. Like whenever you're talking, I was like, yeah, just keep talking.
Yeah.
I mean, I know, Pete, you're a Magic player, or at least have flipped some cardboard at some point. Dixon, I don't know if you've ever played Magic, but
absolutely, yeah.
Excellent. There we go. There is I play Commander.
Yep.
I dabbled very briefly in Magic content creation. You go and have a look at the Curious Homunculus.
Are you gonna say
on YouTube? I'm not going to say Nekazar. No. The deck I was most famous for was Fibblethip.
Oh yeah.
And that is a combo blue deck that I win by milling my opponents out of all their decks. But the point I'm rambling towards is people hate playing against mono blue in all forms of Magic because they have a perceived notion in their head that they're not going to be able to do the thing that they want to do. And it's the same in most gaming. Like, my crew, my deck, whatever it is has a cool thing that it can do. And if I can do my cool thing, then win, lose, or draw, I'm going to have a good time. Yeah. Like, I lost that game, but I've got a cool story about it.
But I got to do it. I got to do the thing.
I got to do my thing. I've built this Rube Goldbergian device, and I'm going to make it work. And Pandora says you can't do your thing. So even if you're like...
That's perfect.
Pandora's kind of like somebody has 2 Chalice of the Voids, one on 2 and the other one on 1.
Dixon, were you...
Basically, you tell me that you got that analogy.
Oh, yeah. I think anybody that plays like Commander and stuff does, but were you a mono blue player, Dixon?
No.
Yes?
That was a lie.
I mean, I was an Esper and a Grixis player
I played
a lot of Modern.
I played pure Rakdos. That's what I love.
Oh, that's so on brand. So on brand.
I play Grixis. Grixis has some Rakdos,
There you go. Plug in the old Curious Moculus channel there.
Yeah, that was the channel I started, and then
I think you did that
happened,
during COVID, didn't you?
No, like I was just before COVID, and then like COVID happened, and like live games of Magic just stopped. Yeah. But if you've never used it, there is a phenomenal website called Spell Table.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Which you put a webcam directly above your table, and then it has AI in it to recognize what cards you're playing. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Oh, dude, that's awesome. I played
it's
before when it was just like you could see your hand.
Yeah, before it was just
stuff.
your cards. Yeah.
No, but the guys during COVID just did the Lord's work. Yeah, and there's card recognition software and stuff. But anyway,
I love Magic, but we've gotten because I'm pretty sure it's like 135. Is there any other questions about?
So in a comparable way, if there are any schemes that when they popped up might as well just be blank spaces. What schemes pop up and are like this one? I'm doing this one every single time it's in the pool.
Pete has said that I have hate in my heart, but like, every single time I see "Take Prisoner" in your face, and I know this is gonna sound stupid, but let them bleed.
I think let them bleed's fair for Pandora because she can control that a little better.
Because everybody's gonna take some damage. That's
that's what I'm
the
saying.
reason why I love it.
But, in normal crews, you have to try to pinpoint and be like, I'm going to bring this model down, this one. But in Pandora, it's like, oh, everybody's just dying. It's cool.
Everybody's slowly burning away, yeah. So
I think people like Keris, like Brewmaster, they've all got like real game into Let Them Bleed.
Yep.
And normally that's a scheme that I stay the hell away from. But I'm looking forward to actually trying it.
You said two masters that Pandora loves to play against.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Oh, you guys deal with conditions? Yeah.
Cool. Let me end your 20 poison condition you got there.
You have tokens? I love tokens.
So funny.
Yeah. And so I think another one is deathbeds. I mean, I think you just bring the emissary and just Hungry Land deathbed kill somebody.
Well, the big thing, like, deathbeds for me is always... like deathbeds and raid the vaults go together so well because I can just nominate a strategy marker. I know where you're going to be because that's where you score points. So I love that.
The hard part is dropping a scheme marker. That's the issue. There's no inherent dropping a scheme marker.
I mean, you have Dorian Crow for Don't Mind Me, so you can kind of get in there and place it.
But you don't have that austere and twig. I'm gonna yeet a scheme marker 8 inches at you kind of thing.
Yeah. There's nothing quite like austere and twig.
She can't have everything, gentlemen. Okay, listen, she has to be bad at something.
I mean, this is the main. Okay, so honestly, this is number one. The reason why Lucius 2 is so good in this GG.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just drops.
Hey, start of the turn. I'm gonna poop out a marker. What is it? 8 inches away or something? 10 inches away?
12 inches.
No.
Oh, even 12, even more so.
Yeah.
And it gives suits.
Yes, that's the key part. Because the thing is that lawyers have drop it in their freaking obey. So not only you obey,
lawyers are lame.
Exactly. So Pandora doesn't really like deathbeds because of that. Because you have to drop a scheme marker to then kill a model. So you're telegraphing that across 2 or 3 activations sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really bad.
Well then, I'd like to say this has been enjoyable, but I'm just, the doctor told me my blood pressure was getting a little high, and I think
you got too much salt in your diet.
Yeah, no. Too much salt content.
I'm so sorry.
You're not sorry.
I am, because I was like, I want to do this because people have been asking me to do it for a while, and it wasn't until Beard said it's oh well, we both have platforms, so I figure we can do this, and we got.
So I just started hitting up Dixon in his DMs, and I was like, "Tell me all your stuff," and he was like, "Just come,
tell me more."
Yeah, he was like, "Just come on the episode. We'll do an episode."
I privately talk to people all the time, but I figure it's well, he has a good setup in his house. We have a setup in our houses. Let's just talk about it in the podcast once and for all.
Yeah, I think Pandora is one of those crews that you can definitely get some mileage out of, and if you're, especially if you kind of figure out Pandora, you can really surprise some people that, it's just like the One Ring. People forget what should not have been forgotten, and
That's right.
When somebody drops Pandora on you randomly and you haven't played her in forever, you better buckle up because it's gonna be a ride.
Buckle up, buckaroo. It's gonna be funny because like now I'm gonna see Harley play Pandora and I'll be like, yeah, I miss her too.
That's the only thing I like about you playing Pandora, Dixon, is I'm like prepped for it, where it's just like, okay, here's Pandora, here's what I need to do. It's still going to be a sucky game, but here we go. Beard, I do want to give you a minute here to plug anything that you got going on as far as just YouTube or anything else.
Oh, I got two big things going on. First of all, I have the Summer Foedown happening on February the 4th at Lost Ice in Adelaide. I've got people flying in from interstate as we try and reinvigorate the tournament scene in South Australia.
Nice.
Very much looking for that. Tickets are $20. Sorry, that's dollary doos, not dollar doodle dandies. Please come along. You know, we've got a whole bunch of prize support coming across from Weird, which is lovely as we try and get the tournament scene up and running both after COVID and in South Australia. Second of all, yes, I do run Friday Night Flip Flop Info, in which I get up at 5 a.m. on a Saturday morning and play people from all around the world on Vassal. I get incredibly salty and sweary and shout at my friends. It's funny because I got this reputation as being like this podcaster that's like, you know, lighthearted and always enjoys the game, and then people play me and they're like, "Wow, you're miserable."
I mean, we can make an episode where I play you with Pandora, and it's gonna be hilarious.
They have a pandy off. So yeah, that I do every week, and then what I try and do is take at least one of those games each month, although I've not been able to do it a lot. Edit out all of the faffery and like just have like a solid 20-minute Vassal game. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm up to.
Yeah, and I know you were asking me like why I ditched the Sand Deep, and I was just like, it's mainly for Reser content, so we can kind of get some of that going. And he's like, oh, I can respect
and that's
that.
it. Yeah, like you and me swap faction pretty much as much as we change our socks, and we have the excuse of being content creators. Yeah,
it feeds into the drug, I tell you. It's.
I mean, I solely do it on Vassal, so it's super easy for me. But Pete has been buying these models, so it's like, holy crap.
yeah, there it is. Yeah, I actually think I have probably about 70% of the Reser faction now. I was just like...
In the arms of...
Yeah, that's what my wallet's doing.
Do you want my Malifaux rage quit story very quickly?
Sure, love it.
Because I know you love a rage quit. So at the end of M2E, because I played an awful lot of M2E, I used to do a Malifaux podcast called High Fidelity, in which we'd have 4 people come on and argue over what was the best model in certain point restrictions. And the only rule was that you weren't allowed to agree with your opponents, even if you did agree with your opponents. They're still out there on Apple Podcasts if you want to have a listen. I'm tempted to maybe do it again at some point, just as a one-off. But I had the entire range. I like the only model I didn't have painted was Fuhatsu. I had every single model painted, and for whatever reason, I can't even remember, I massively rage quit Malifaux and sold everything. Sold everything. I think it was the app. It was the old app where they were like, this app is going to be £10 and it was going to be future-proofed and we're going to update it forever. And then they went, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to...
Wow.
I know we said we were going to do that, but we're not going to. And I rage quit and I sold everything, and here I am like an idiot.
Getting the crap again.
Buying it all back again.
I'm glad that it came back, though.
Oh, yeah, me too.
So am I. So am I. Because I've been listening to Rage Quit since episode 1. When it was back when it's a guild. I loved it. I was saying this to Pete the other week. I loved it. You were like, "Hey, we're Rage Quit Wire. Here's our Patreon." I was like, "Wow, that's bold." Like not even not even episode 1, but like sentence 1. I'm going to start shilling my Patreon. That said, you should sign up to Pete's Patreon.
It was so great because it was the Union in Chains event is when we started this, and that was such a great time for Guild Ball. It was. Like Chris and I were going to a Guild Ball tournament. We're like, dude, why don't we just talk about this stuff? Like, we thought a lot of the other podcasts, sucked at the time because they were either so technical and boring. Did you have a podcast? I don't think you had a podcast then.
Beard Pod, yeah.
I thought you.
Oh yeah.
Huh. I guess I wasn't. Pod. To be fair, I don't think I was aware of the international podcast at that time.
Yeah, it's fair.
Covering my tracks.
You were not aware of any other podcast. You barely knew the game.
Oh, no, I was. I didn't like the Chicago podcast because I thought that they just had some opinions that I just didn't agree with. Bill's podcast was pretty decent, but They were a little more on the fluffier side a lot of times, so I was kind of like, okay.
Sure. It was really interesting when I got back into Malifaux because I was like, right, where's Arcane Reservoir? Where's Schemes and Stones?
And they were all gone.
Where's Before We Begin? Before We Begin is to me still like the top mark of how a hobby podcast should be done. But to be fair, like, you know, you guys have done a fantastic job. I think on behalf of the entire community, the GG3 faction spotlight episodes are some of the best hobby podcasting I've ever heard. Nice Appreciate one, Dixon, for coming up with that concept. I really look forward to the I really look forward to the GG4 version. I appreciate you kind of got to let it simmer and let those those opinions form and that. But those are episodes I've gone back to time and time and time again. Just to when I change faction, which of course is every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks.
Yeah. So no, thank you for that, gentlemen. They were fantastic.
Yeah, we're definitely going to do that for this Gaining Grounds, but I think, and Dixon, you probably agree with me, I think letting it probably, marinate a little bit, probably till the summer we might start.
Yeah, that's exactly, because, like, we just started, Pete is doing an event for his local meta, and I made the rounds for it, and I told Peter, it's like, I'm going to use this as a kind of like a lab, kind of like a testing site, because I want to make sure that the things that I'm going to pick are what I assume in my head is based on what I'm experiencing, right? So after this tournament, I'm going to start making, again, more assumptions and stuff.
Yeah, and also just for anybody interested in the States, we are throwing that event here in Wichita, Kansas at Headshots Gamer Bar. It's a pretty sweet little place. It's January 20th, so if you want to play a 3-round Malifaux event, nice. Just check out the Discord, hit me up. I can give you the info for it. But it's going to be fun. We should have at least, I'm hoping 12 players, because I think I got some people from Oklahoma, hopefully some from Missouri coming out. And that would be good. And then, of course, if you want to do a bigger one, you can go to Captain Con in Rhode Island, and that's going to be super fun. So I'm excited to play that one.
I'm so gonna watch that so closely, Captain Con, because first Jesse is gonna be running the event, and I wanna I wish I could support him directly, and I'm going to be paying attention to who wins, because Rich, something that I want to point out, Andre on the first tournament that I saw on Longshanks played nothing but Nekima 1, and I think he maxed out every round. He just ate
windmill slam, bam.
Yeah, something silly like that, if I remember. He won, definitely won, but I remember it was something like he high scored every rain. It's stupid.
Wow.
Yeah. So beater schemers, man, I'm telling you, beater schemers for this edition seems to be the key.
100%.
Yeah, we're gonna do a top 10 episode of beater schemers, I think, here soon.
Rest in peace, Despa LaRue.
Old Despa. Yeah. So, just want to thank for you coming on again, Rich. Hopefully everybody got some good Pandora I Hate You tech. I do also want to thank Harley Quinn and James for popping on the chat. It's been nice having
100%.
them. And appreciate them being patrons and taking advantage of that benefit. We always love it when the patrons come in and drop questions or just chat and listen to us, BS before and after the record button gets hit. So, But I think until next time, make sure that you guys are flipping cards and flipping tables, and we will see you all later.